Hey, there it is. Are you
Rock
okay, Jeff?
on, man.
That is Jeff. Got it.
Yeah,
that is
that's
Jeff.
Greg.
And we are the 4040 men.
That's too bright.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm gonna pre-apologize about my voice. I'd lost it over the past couple of days, so I probably sound cooler
Yeah,
than
you've
I
been working
usually
hard.
do. Yeah, I sound a little
by the
cooler
way,
than I usually do.
So that person that I was working with on Thursday for that thing, so we were walking around Drake's old club.
Yeah.
What a crappy looking club that place was.
It's bad. It's as if you gave
it looks terrible.
No, but it's as if you gave a bunch of 8-year-olds a spot here, a spot here, a spot here, and a spot here, and said, "Okay, make it as cool as you think." And then they just went. Yeah, it's so excessive and it's so bad. Yeah.
It wasn't even it's all been ripped down. Like, A, the floor looks stupid that they ripped most of the floor out. B, they still kept 2 pool tables in there, which is weird. Yeah. I don't understand why there's 2 pool tables, brand new pool tables are sitting there. The bar is horrible because there's not enough room for more than one person to go back there. The kitchen's no good because the line, which I guess they want everybody to look at because it's a big open concept kind of deal, doesn't have enough room behind the line. But when you go over the other side of the wall, the whole prep area is huge. I'm like, you could have pushed the wall back 5 goddamn feet and given these people some room. I would have hated working there. And then the worst part, there's this weird column that's beside where the bar was, and it's got this tile on it, and it's put on so badly. It looks horrible. Michelle and I were just laughing around, going, my God, no wonder this place closed down so fast. No wonder someone got shot. Probably the designer.
It's terrible in there. Yeah, it's excessively it's whatever. I mean,
to have all the beer, I get the idea of having the beer taps all on the front, what they want. I get the idea of it, but with the way with that U bar that they do it, it's the dumbest idea I've ever friggin' seen. There's 20 taps in one spot right at the front of the bar, which is dumb. Yeah. Whoever designed that bar is a moron. So if anybody here is from Drake's team watching us right now, your design guy sucks balls.
I highly doubt
He does. Or she. Whoever. They're terrible at it. But anyway.
Well, speaking of terrible, about pitching this week, it was awful.
Well, no, not completely awful.
No, not completely.
Manoah was great.
Manoah in his second start, and
both
Stripling was. Stripling
even
was
in the other start, he was all right.
Stripling was
yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday he was killer. Mm-hmm. The start he had against Baltimore wasn't the greatest, but he only gave up a run.
It was actually fine. It's just we couldn't. The same thing. We couldn't really.
Jimmy Garcia seems to be hitting a bit of a wall. I've noticed.
Yeah. Bass
he's been giving up runs like mad.
Bass had a pretty bad week too, and he's generally been all right.
Well, here's the thing with Bass though. They didn't pitch him all week. This was they mentioned on one of the broadcasts where they were. I think it was the 18-11 game where they were plowing through pitchers like crazy, and they kept saying "Where's Bass?" They didn't even get him up. They were like, "Is he hurt? Is there something wrong with him?" Because he hadn't pitched in days, and then he didn't pitch until the first game of the Rays series, and he was kind of rusty.
Yeah,
because he hadn't pitched in 7 days, but he wasn't hurt. There was no injury thing. They just didn't use him. They didn't even try. They went down to the depths of the bullpen without using him on that big day. So I don't get it. Either there was a phantom injury they're not disclosing, or they didn't have faith in him or something. I don't know
I don't know
was going on with the Bass thing,
but
because it made no sense with his usage at all. I didn't understand it. I really didn't.
You did call it though. It's the wrong time to be playing Tampa, because Tampa got everybody back, and I mean
The problem is we can't play Tampa. We can't play Tampa in Tampa. That's the biggest problem.
No, it is the literal house of horrors. Even when Tampa was terrible, like I've said this before, the first time that one of the greatest pitchers probably to ever play the game, Roy Halladay, the first time Roy Halladay ever beat Tampa was when he played for the Phillies. He never beat them playing for us.
It's weird, but yeah, they got, like you said again, they got the pitching coming back. They had Paul Fairbanks friggin' close
Today we're facing McClanahan, who's on fire right now as well. So
yeah, we did get to him. We were okay with him the other day. He wasn't.
That was the one that was in Toronto.
He wasn't unbeatable. Mm-hmm. Like Rasmussen wasn't unbeatable. Here's the thing: like against their starters, we're not horrible, but when you get into the pen, we are. Yeah. Like we just can't. We cannot beat their pen, and it just goes to prove again and again. We lack volume when it comes to arms. We don't have the volume of pitching that we need. Joe Siddle brought it up during one of the broadcasts. We just don't have like we should have been able to go down and get Hatch or Kay or Lawrence or somebody should have been able to come up and be good, but none of them were. We had no depth.
But even the ones
Tampa Bay brings up their 25th pitcher and they're cool.
Yeah, even the ones that are existing in our team right now that are supposed to be like, because don't get me wrong, like Romano got his 35th save, but he also blew 2 saves, like in this span of the week, right? And he's been awesome. I mean, Berrios has been all over the place.
He's been lights out. He's been okay. I mean, he was due for a couple, and his save yesterday was killer. It was bang on. I think he had his hiccups, and that's it. Now, here's the thing. These hiccups the bullpen has had this whole week, because our bullpen's been pretty weak. I think we have, I think they said the last 8 games, the ERA is 8. We're hitting 300 against us, something like that. Okay, we've got the blip, right? Is it good? Is it just a blip? And they've kind of gone past their oopsie daisy phase and now they're going to buckle back down again, or is this the beginning of what we're going to see for the rest of the season?
Well,
that's the question.
Here's the kicker, right? Like we started last week 4.5 games behind the Yankees, and now we're 8.5 because the Yanks had a pretty good week, and then we now have one more against Tampa, and then we go back home, but we face the Yankees for 3. So had we have even done a decent job in this week, we could have actually been battling for the division. I think the division is out of reach now. It's 8.5 games.
Maybe.
There's 10. I mean, it's mathematically possible. There's 10 games left in the season, and it's 8.5. It's fine.
But we'd have to sweep the Yankees. We need a lot of help.
Lose. Yeah, we would need us in 87.
Yeah,
when all they had to do was win one of those games, and
we lost 7. Yeah,
7.
I don't know. I don't know. The biggest problem I have right now is that because we lost 2 games to the Rays, they now have the tiebreaker.
Yes,
Seattle has the tiebreaker,
and I believe that we just now have
Baltimore might even have a tiebreaker.
We just have to finish above them. That's and we are right now. Seattle still has that game in hand, but we're above both of them right now.
Well, we basically have to beat Tampa today.
We have to beat Tampa today.
We know. Again, for the fans, we taped this early. The game has actually just started for us when we're taping this. But if we're still there at 5:00, the game will probably be over. Ideally, the Jays win this game. They're 2 games up. If they don't, we're tied with Tampa. Tampa's got the game in hand. That means Tampa pretty much controls the destiny of what's going on. If we get 2 games up, that's huge.
And
but we got to beat New York.
Tampa's got actually a pretty tough. It's in theory, they've got Cleveland next, and Cleveland's still sort of playing for the division. So Cleveland's Cleveland's still going to be trying, whereas the Astros, who are after that, the Astros are wrapped up. So the Astros
they'll probably beat them anyway. Though the Astros are just that. I was looking at it. They have 3 guys in the top 10 in RBIs.
Yeah.
That's like they drive runs in, they hit like crazy, and their pitching's mad. So
that's
the thing
too, right?
Tampa found out really quickly how good they are.
Yeah, like do you play like your starters? Well, I mean it's baseball, so like you can literally pull them in for 5 innings and then just throw in everyone else. So if Alvarez,
they'll throw in some bench players.
If what's his face, Jody Alvarez, starts smacking the ball a couple of times, then he'll be fine. Then I'll be okay. Yeah.
So, but here, the thing that scares me is Seattle.
Yeah.
Because Seattle's schedule is like Oakland and Kansas City, like a bunch of dregs kind of teams.
Let's see
right?
Exactly.
So they have a really easy schedule coming up. And that's what
Kansas City, and then the Rangers. The Rangers are terrible.
Last place team.
All 4 teams that they're playing: Kansas City, Rangers, Athletics, and then finish it off with the Tigers. All 4 of them are eliminated already right now.
4 of them suck ass.
Yeah, they're all eliminated. They're all eliminated already. That's what I mean. Like they're all already eliminated.
Funnily enough, I found this interesting. Marcus Semien is 2nd in the league in runs scored.
Oh, good for Marcus.
Which I thought was weird considering Texas isn't the greatest hitting team either. I mean, they're all right, but I kind of thought that was weird. But that's the thing. They've got 10 games against these guys, and we've got 10 games against the Yankees and the Orioles and the Rays.
Yeah, and the Orioles will still play us. And it's kind of funny. Like, I've said this before. Like, there's no way we can compete with, like, a rivalry with the Yankees and the Red Sox because that's been going on forever. And I think that our de facto, like, we're still, don't get me wrong, we're still rivals against the Yanks and the Red Sox, and we hate them. But, I mean, like, our marquee one, I think, is Baltimore. And I feel that's it because it's come down to us a couple of times, and they're in the same boat. There's no way they can compete with that. So I think they just sort of latched on to us. So we actually have a good hatred for each other.
The league took away our best rivalries. Our best rivalries that Jays had ever had were Detroit.
Yeah.
Because it's 3 hours away. Yeah. And Milwaukee was always a great rivalry for us as well because they were the Tampa Bay of the 1980s. They kicked our butt all the goddamn time.
Well, they had like 3 guys on the team that no matter what happened, Robin Yount, Rob Deere, they can always kill us. Yeah. Molitor. Well, Gorman. I still see Molitor as a J, but Molitor he was for a while. Yeah.
There were Gorman Thomas in there. Like they had some Cecil Cooper was another big fast dude. Teddy Higuera pitched. Like they had good teams. Milwaukee had some great teams. I'm kind of disappointed we don't play them anymore because I love their stadium. If we could ever get a stadium like Milwaukee's stadium, I feel like all the other ones. Milwaukee's is fun.
Yeah,
it's a fun stadium.
But it's got like those weird fan corners and stuff like that. Like that whole high little corner up in the top part.
And it's got Billy Brew with the slide.
And it's got the slide.
Because you get the slide all the times.
Yeah.
It's just it looks like a fun ballpark. It looks like a fun atmosphere.
Well, Milwaukee itself is actually a pretty fun town too, right? Like, any town that. Well, here's the way that I see it. Any town that is sort of primarily involved with, like, they're
with Happy Days.
No, but I mean, like, if they're base export, and whenever you think of Milwaukee, you think of beer, and it has to be fun, right? So
would that make St. Louis the same thing?
It would, but it's Budweiser
is right there.
Yeah, but Budweiser, they're just kind of douchey. Like they're a terrible, terrible company. Ugh. Whereas at least like Miller's kind of cool.
Well, at least most of the big beer companies are rather douchey.
Actually,
we don't even really have a Canadian one anymore. We sold it all off to a bunch of Belgians. So, like, it really sucks. The Canadian and Blue are just like. I'll tell you one thing. Do you ever see commercials for Canadian or Blue anymore?
No.
But back in the 80s and even the 90s, you saw them all the time.
Well, here's a good segue. Let's do a little commercial. Let's do Shillow. Alrighty. Now, speaking of beer commercials, this is a beer commercial. No, there's not going to be some 80s classic rock, a ridiculous cottage by the lake with girls in bikinis trying to sell you schlock beer. There is a girl, however, who is the brewmaster, and she makes killer beers. This is a small independent brewery out of the south end of the nation's capital. That is this nation, Canada. So a Canadian beer company. Woo! That was the voice lost there. That was supposed to be a scream. It was terrible.
Woo!
There we go. And the cool thing about this is all the beers are certified kosher. You'll find an incredible lineup of session ales, Vienna lagers, sours, stouts, pales, and my personal favorite, which is called the Belgian Beer Snob, which is very similar to a Trappist-style ale. So they don't need to throw around the idea that your summer will be awesome if you drink their beer. They just make great beer. But if you do have an amazing cottage by the lake with jet skis and 80s rock playing in the background, it can't hurt to drink Shillow beer. So visit shillowbeer.com. And we're done. So there we go. Beer commercial thrown in when we're talking about beer commercials. I like that little segue.
It all rolls into one.
Yeah.
I'm just glad we're not talking about football. I'm already sick and tired of hearing about NFL football. I'm not. It's funny, when I used to work in the when we used to work at the bar back in the day, I didn't mind. I thought it was kind of fun. I don't care at all about NFL football. I could give two craps. I don't. The only thing right now that I find remotely interesting is that Buffalo might finally possibly win a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
because back in the day, being from Buffalo, being Buffalo so close, they were the team you'd always kind of pick, right? But I don't care. There's just a bunch of, I don't know. It's a boring game.
I've been watching. Have you seen the show Solar Opposites?
No.
It's the same producers as Rick and Morty, and they're an alien race that crashes and tries to live amongst Earthlings, but they're fully alien or whatever, right? And all of a sudden, the one guy just goes, "Oh my God, football is awesome! The New York Jets are playing against the color brown. From now on, we are fans of the color brown." So, as a Browns fan,
so they'll always lose.
Yes,
they'll never see a winner.
Yes. So,
that's Bob McCowan's team, and he's sticking by him.
Yeah. But here's something to think of. Oh, was that the dog?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, the game's on.
Oh, nice.
Something good happened.
Sweet. Okay, we won't ruin it. Or actually, it's not even ruinable because it'll already have happened by this time.
Yeah. Way to go, Blue Jay player.
So speaking of Blue Jay players, we got an injury to Espinal, so that means that Whit Merrifield has been playing a little bit more lately. And Whit Merrifield, that's the thing, has been doing quite well. Is Whit Merrifield
playing himself into a regular position? He's hit 3 home runs during this series.
Yeah, his stats for the week. Okay, so here's his stats for the week. He's 429, 3 homers, 6 RBIs, and here's one that's actually which is pretty cool because he's actually supposedly has a good eye, but he's only got 4 strikeouts on the week. So I'm like, I'm happy about that. Like whenever I see a batter on the week with like a low amount of strikeouts, like just to note the fact that Teoscar has actually just got 3 strikeouts this week, and he was in the double digits for a little while. So our batters are getting a little more patient, but Whit is killing it right now. And I was not a fan when we picked him up because of, like, literally the whole vaccine issue, because it could have just put what would be the purpose of getting a guy that could only play in a specific amount of places for a specific amount of time?
Well, here's the thing though with Merrifield is I think people tend to forget that he can hit.
Yeah.
Like he's always hit. Let's see, he's got since 2000. He debuted 2016. Okay, so if you look at, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd say 5 seasons, which were full seasons, including this one. Out of 4 of those, 169 hits, 192 hits, 206 hits, 184 hits, 112 hits. Like last year alone, he led the league in doubles and stolen bases and sacrifice flies, apparently. He had 42 doubles, 40 stolen bases. 2019, he led in at-bats. He had 206 hits, 10 triples, 20 steals, 302 batting. Like his batting average is 284 lifetime. I mean, his OPS isn't huge. It's 755, but he's kind of like Raimel Tapia with a bit more power.
Yeah.
You know, like they're going to hit and they're going to get on base. It's just a matter of what kind of hit's going to get them.
But it actually worked out because we did mention the fact that we do have a bunch of people up the middle, and and the fact that Espinal did get hurt because actually he was having a great season, Espinal. So I do like the fact that we've actually got to use.
I'm curious as what Espinal's stats have been since the All-Star break.
Yeah,
because honestly, we've barely seen him.
Yeah,
like not that he hasn't played, but I don't really recall he hasn't been doing much.
He's had his games. Like we've actually had over the last month. I mean, there's been Bo's had a string of awesomeness, but there has been over the last month, which we did mention last week, and I actually do like it. It's not always going to be Vladdy or Bo or Springer coming to the rescue. It's someone else. Like there was what was the 18-11 game, all right? So Kirk and Hernandez had 3 and 4 hits in that. There was 9 players with RBIs. Who didn't get an RBI in that game? Bo, Vladdy. Yeah, Bo and Vladdy. And that's it. And
no, but I think Vladdy did because I made a point of noting that.
No, he got Vladdy and Bo didn't get him. Zimmer didn't get it because Zimmer didn't get him that bad, so he was classified as 0 for 0, right? But yeah, like everyone got an RBI in that one.
Because I had put in the note. I had to put in the note something different. Let me just see. Did I get that wrong?
I think so.
I did. Yeah, you're right. Okay. But so basically everybody got a hit and everybody got an RBI. A run scored.
Yeah. Those guys got hits. They just didn't get an RBI. But this is the thing, right? Like there's been a solid month where it's been everyone's taken their turn, right? Chapman's had his games, Danny Jansen's had his games, Kirk's had his games.
Which is the way it should be. That's how teams win.
Yeah.
But Santiago Espinal, I'm looking at his numbers right now. His OPS plus is actually below 100 now. He's at 98. And that's not good. That's he was doing really well before the All-Star break, but after the All-Star break, I'm telling you, man, he's dropping hugely.
And he was actually pretty good for getting doubles too. Like every hit was pretty much a double.
Yeah. And now you look at his WAR is only 2.1. Like Teoscar's got a better WAR than he does now.
Well, Teoscar had that horrific month 2 months ago, but he's really, really righting the ship. There was that span. In 1 week, he had 12 strikeouts. And now he's down to
Well, he was turning into 2019 Teoscar Hernandez.
All he wanted to do was hit homers as opposed to just making contact. Right. So
exactly. So Teoscar Hernandez, his OPS plus now is 120, which is good.
Yeah.
OPS is still 780, which is still kind of low, even for his career numbers. But his WAR is 2.2 now, which is better than he's all right. But again, I think you're going to see him gone at the end in the off season. I think he's gone.
But then, do you think? But this is the key, though, right? Has Whit Merrifield played himself onto the team to be signed for next year, to be kept for next year?
Well, is he a free agent?
Yes.
No, they won't sign him.
You don't think?
I don't think they will. I just don't.
It is one of those things that whatever happens at this point in time, but if he comes through in October, which literally we've got 10 games left in the season, that's it, and so he's got essentially 2 weeks to make himself shine.
Well, Whit Merrifield right now is on base percentage is below 300. His OPS plus is 84. And his WAR is minus 0.4.
Yeah,
he's a negative. He's had a bad year. The thing with him is, do you think he'll have a better year? We don't need him though. If you're going to keep Biggio and Espinal, you don't really need Merrifield. You just don't. It's a matter of, do they think Espinal can be a full season player again? Mm-hmm. Which I question whether he can be, because this is his first full season. Yeah. And he's tailing off terribly. Just like Alejandro Kirk after he's coming on lately, but Alejandro after the All-Star break for a while there was dropping like a fly. He was just going down in all his stats as well.
Look at Kirk's numbers compared to compared to Danny Jansen. They have the same amount of home runs, him and Danny Jansen. Jansen is a little behind in RBIs. He's a little behind in hits, but Danny Jansen.
Well, Jansen was also on the DL for a while.
Jansen has had less than half the amount of Kirk's had 445 at bats and Jansen's had 188, and Jansen is still putting up the very similar numbers, and with less than half. So.
So
we could have got rid of Kirk. We could have got rid of Kirk at the trade deadline or at the All-Star break.
Yep.
And cashed in.
Danny's got a better OPS plus. He's got a better OPS. His WAR is not the same, but like you said, he's got less than half the at bats. His WAR is not half of what Alejandro's is. No, the batting average is lower. The base percentage is lower, but the slugging is higher. Like Danny's more of he's a slugger more than Alejandro is.
But that's the thing is like everyone was saying that Alejandro is like, oh, he's pure power. But he's not. Like he's
not. He's got 13 home runs.
Yeah.
Danny's got 13 home runs.
Yeah.
So Alejandro gets on base at it's 379, but Danny's at 333, which isn't horrible.
No.
And if you add in to that the catching, because Alejandro, I'm telling you, and they talk about it on the game again, and it drives Buck Martinez nuts, and it drives me nuts. I hate this setup with the knee drop, because what it does is when you're catching, you're reaching for stuff as opposed to leaning to catch things. When you got a knee on the ground and your legs spread out, you're not able. Your mobility is gone. So you have to use your arm to catch everything, which is why he's good at framing the low pitches. But if something gets out of the way, it bounces off the glove and goes to the backstop, or it hits the ground. Or if it goes in the dirt, he doesn't have the ability to block it the way he needs to block it because he's already down, which means that if it comes up, it's going to bounce off his shoulder and go to the backstop. I don't like the way he does that. It drives me bonkers. There are times when you can do that. That's fine. But you can't do it all the time. And I think it's a lazy way of catching, and it's not going to make him any better. It's just not. It's going to make him a worse catcher. It's going to make him have a whole bunch of terrible, terrible routines that he's got to do. So I don't know. Let's see.
I was expecting fielding to lean more into that one.
No, it's let's see. His fielding isn't the greatest. Like it's not. No. I just don't think that Alejandro. And I'm gonna say it. I know there's a big thing again about what Matthew Ross says about body shaming Alejandro Kirk. I'm not body shaming Alejandro Kirk. I am saying that when you are less athletic in a catching position, it used to be fine. They used to have guys like him all the time, but the game has changed. Like the pitches these days move more than they ever have, and they're faster than they've ever been. So you need to adjust to that. Jansen can adjust to that. Moreno can adjust to that. Kirk can't. Or look at the other day, like watching Kirk run out a double play ball. Like if Kirk grounds it, it's going to be a double play or an out. There is never, ever, ever going to be a time when Alejandro Kirk beats out a throw, except for the one the other day because the shortstop skipped it 4 times before it came to first base, and he still just made it by like a hair on the hair of a donkey's ass. He came this close to just not getting it. And that's what happens. Like I'm sorry, it's a detriment to the team.
It was a couple of years
ago. They say these days players are more athletic than ever. He is not.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago when we had Edwin, and I remember Edwin even a couple of times because Edwin was definitely not in shape, and Edwin would beat out ground ball singles like to. Well,
when you're taller with longer legs, it helps. Yeah. Trust me, I know that. Alejandro Kirk is a short dude. Like he's already got short legs, which gives him a disadvantage as it is already. Yeah. He doesn't have the strides. But when you've got that much that much bulk to carry around, it's just not going to make you faster. It's just not. I'm not expecting him to be a world beater. I'm not even expecting him to be a league average runner, but he may be one of the slowest runners in baseball, regardless of his tear around from first base to home. He just is. It's not shaming him because I think, like I said, he's got great skills.
Yeah.
And I understand what Matthew Ross from TSN was trying to say. He just said it in the worst way.
Terribly. And then threw his daughters under the bus. He was basically
trying to say that he needs, like, if he didn't have that extra bulk, or if he turned some of that bulk into muscle, how much better a player would he be?
Yeah.
Like, he's already got elite bat to ball skills as it is. If he lost some weight, his bat would be even faster.
Yeah.
You know, he'd be able to get to even more stuff. Like, he would, I guarantee, if he lost just 15 pounds, if he just went down to 230 and turned that 15 pounds of fat into 15 pounds of muscle, I couldn't even imagine how good he would be.
Hey, man, I'm 224 and I'm just shy of 6 feet. And I'm out of shape. I'm out of shape.
I'm 245. Oh, sorry. I've been gaining weight, unfortunately, but I used to be around 245, and I'm 6'5", and I found that extra weight not easy to carry around sometimes. Yeah. So, I mean, he's an athlete, obviously, but he's just, you just see the lazy way of doing certain things that makes me wonder. Like, and you're right. I think he's going to get traded. I think you package him and Teoscar into a package with some low-level arm of some kind to bring us back a legitimate left-handed hitting average hitter. Like, somebody you can hit for average.
You can throw that to a team and say, look, here you go. Here's essentially a possibility of 50 home runs combined with the two of them. Like,
I'm telling you, I still think
that's not a bad deal.
If Ian Happ isn't a free agent, I would trade Teoscar and Alejandro for Ian Happ and something else and trade him to Chicago. Because Chicago's going to lose Wilson Contreras anyway.
Yeah.
They thought they were going to trade him. I don't know why they didn't trade him, but
they're going to have a few years of just dealing away talent in order to build some stuff back up.
Well, I mean, they've got some decent pieces in there. Their first baseman's all right. They've got some stuff, but they're going to lose their main catcher.
Yeah.
And they need one. So there you go. And then Teoscar can be, I mean, he's still arbitration eligible for one more year. So you at least have him for another year. And Happ, I think, only has one more year on it anyway. So you're just swapping those two.
Yeah.
And that's why I see you'll probably get another piece back from Chicago just to kind of even it out a little bit.
Is Happ
but that's where I would go.
Is Happ in relation to J.A.? Have I asked this before? No relation?
No, you haven't, but no, he's not. I've checked into that, but he's,
Okay, cool.
I didn't know it's a common name. I've never heard the name Happ before. Apparently. Yeah, so that's what I would do. I mean, personally, because I don't think we're going to do so well in the playoffs. I just don't.
I just thought of it.
I want us to.
I mean, total random thing. The only other Happ that I know of is, Martin Short and Three Amigos, Happ Day. That's literally the only other Happ that I know of. Sorry. 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 He was Ned Nederlander. Chevy Chase was Happ Day.
Yeah. No, that movie, I actually watched that a few weeks ago. It was on TV the other day. Right? It was just, oh man, I love that movie. I loved it when it came out, and I love it now. But still, the other one I watched again, which I hadn't watched in a while, was Spaceballs.
Oh yeah,
that's one of the best funny movies ever.
That's probably like the fourth time that's actually been mentioned on our podcast.
Because Spaceballs is great.
Great.
Merchandising.
Well, speaking of merchandising, Canadian Way.
Commercial break coming up.
We've actually been pretty good at the segue today. I just got to say that. So, the fast fashion industry makes up 10% of CO2 emissions, pollutes and dries up water resources. 85% of all textiles end up in the dump each year. Do you want to change those stats? Do you want to look good while doing it? Then shop the Canadian Way. Clothing created by the Canadian Way is made from repurposed, recycled, and/or biodegradable materials, manufactured in CO2 neutral sites and by workers who are paid a proper wage, all within this great nation of ours. So if you're tired of contributing to the endless supply chain of garbage produced by humanity, then shop the Canadian Way. Starting fall 2020, visit thecanadianway.ca. Boom. There we go.
I was just checking out what was going on.
So what is the score? I haven't had a chance to look yet.
We are in the third inning, and it is 1-0 for Toronto.
Yay.
At this point. Alejandro Kirk hit a bomb of a home run. That's what I was looking at earlier. So that's what's going on. Just to let you guys know whereabouts
as we're talking about it. Yeah. There we go.
So let's see. What else did we have on our list here?
Well, actually, I want to bring up something actually that was kind of cool. And I know you can elaborate on this, and we can definitely meander for a while. Last night, big night last night for Albert Pujols. 700 home runs.
Yeah.
700 home runs.
What do you think is more impressive, 700 home runs or maybe Judge hitting 62, 63?
Well, 700 in a career is awesome. And, I mean, we actually will probably get to see Judge hit his 62nd because they're coming here, right? So, but obviously 700
does it today, but yeah.
You have to think about this, right? So, like, there was a little thing that – so he hits the 700th home run, and he joins the 700 club, which is Babe, Barry, and Hank. I mean, this one will be kind of, sort of whatever, right?
Barry Bonds actually came out and said that he wants Judge to break the record, and then he wants him to sign with the Giants. Like, Barry is all for – Barry's like, if anybody's going to break my record, it's going to be Aaron Judge. I have no problem with that. Let him sign with San Francisco and do it.
No, but I mean, like, so you got Babe and Hank, and then Barry. Okay, so now Albert Pujols.
So Barry.
Albert Pujols' first home run was in April of 2001, and let's put this into perspective here. Tom Brady had 6 career passing yards. He's now getting 85,000. LeBron James was just starting to make a name for himself in high school because he didn't join the league until 2004, but he was starting to make a name in high school basketball. iPhones were 6 years away. Harry Potter, hadn't even hit theaters yet. 9/11 hadn't happened because that was April of 2001. So I mean, like, you could travel on planes with liquids beyond, however much.
You didn't have to take your shoes off at the airport.
Yeah, and Fred Durst was still cool. That's how long ago it was. But the crazy thing is,
they didn't like him. Like, I watched that. Did you watch that Woodstock '99 documentary on Netflix?
Oh yeah.
They do not like Fred Durst.
Oh, but he's an idiot.
He incited the crowd into a bigger riot than was already happening. Fred Durst, you're a dink.
But the crazy thing is,
you made that thing so dangerous.
Yeah, and the Chili Peppers did not help either. When all the fires were going on, then they played "Let Me Stand Next to Your Fire" by Jimi Hendrix. They're not alone in this one here. But Pujols hits a 700th home run against the Diamondbacks. And the Diamondbacks won the World Series in 2001.
That year.
Yeah. And
that was the Luis Gonzalez hitting the ninth.
Yeah, and there was a lot of players on that team that were in their tail end of their careers, which had started playing in the 80s. So it's like
Randy Johnson,
Mark Grace, Kurt Schilling.
Was Schilling on that team too?
Schilling and Johnson were both on that team.
Yeah.
Because that was.
By the way, Kurt Schilling, you're a dink.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to you, man, but wow, you're just a horrible person right now.
But yeah, he's
just horrible.
So that's
he's a maggot. MAGAT.
Kudos.
Great again, Trumper.
Oh, that's Kurt Schilling.
Make America Great Again, Trump supporter. Maggots. Yeah. That's what they're calling them now.
But then Pujols.
They're maggots.
Pujols is awesome. So we're gonna give it a little cheers to Pujols.
Now, okay, so we get into my usual pissy Jays fan rant. Okay. This wasn't from a Jay fan specifically. This is from a baseball.
Yeah, because we haven't used this one for a bit. Just because I like it.
Well, now I will say this isn't from a pissy Jays fan in particular. This is from just a general fan on a message board about baseball.
It still works.
This goofball decided to say that he doesn't really think 700 home runs means anything because Pujols has been, quote unquote, padding his stats. That people are, quote unquote, throwing him not quote unquote, but throwing him just easy balls to hit. No problem.
Throwing him meatballs.
Like, that's what he's saying.
Gotta hit it. You still have to hit it. and it still has to go over the fence. So,
and that's the thing. Like, you don't like anybody who's got those upper numbered stats. The last few years of their career, you think they're like the best of who they were.
No,
idiots. They're not. You're at the tail end of a career, a 22-year career. That's what's he's 42 years old and he's still hitting 20 bombs in a year. That's something that you can say doesn't happen very often unless you're Barry goddamn Bonds with your big swole head. But it amazes me how people just can't let people have anything anymore. Mm-hmm. He hit 700 home runs, and this goddamn idiot's got to come out and say, well, he didn't earn the 700 home runs. Yeah, he did. He could probably have 800 home runs by now if he wasn't hurt for 5 years when he was in Los Angeles. If he was, and they say, well, he just came back to pad his stats. He didn't come back to pad his stats. He came back because he even said in Los Angeles, he was being interviewed by Hazel May, and he even said, he goes, I found the joy in baseball again when I went to Los Angeles because we went into the postseason, and I was able to really enjoy the game again. And St. Louis gave me the opportunity to go home and finish my career, and I have loved every minute of it, is basically what he said. And that's all it is. He's just enjoying himself. He's not hurt anymore.
When you're talking about padding stats, like he didn't have the years in San Francisco using Balco technology to help him come back instantaneously from injury. That's what the human growth hormone does. It makes you stronger, but it also brings you back right away. And like he had a bad back for how many years.
People are even still saying, well, they never caught him doing drugs, but maybe he did. Are they going to say this about everybody now? Is everybody going to be a supposed drug user if they get to a number that people find amazing? He's going to be second in RBIs in the history of baseball. Second.
But he got to this number in 22 years. It's not like he did this in 4 seasons. It's well, like
the guy was saying, like, this guy was going off saying that he was deteriorating all through LA, and he was. Yeah. We know Albert was not the same player. You could tell. Yeah. And he's like, he finds it really weird that all of a sudden Albert's smacking the crap out of the ball again. Well, it happens, man. Like, things happen. The guy was miserable in LA. He's probably thinking his last 5 years that he never should have gone there in the first place. Yeah. He was probably thinking, I should have just stayed in St. Louis. And I'm sure that made him miserable because now he's back in St. Louis and he's loving it. Yeah. Like, he left for money and he regrets it. And I think that affected his play when he realized that Moreno and whatever GMs they've had in Anaheim don't know how to build a baseball team. No. They just sign really good players thinking that it'll all just kind of magically come together.
You've got 2 generational talents in Ohtani and Trout, and then they can't win anything. Like, it's insane.
Do you know Ohtani's only 2 home runs behind Trout? Trout's got 36 and Ohtani's got 34. And they're third and fourth in home runs in the American League.
Here's the thing. Ohtani hit 47 homers last year. Now imagine, and here's the crazy thing. He hit 47 homers last year and was essentially a Cy Young pitcher. What if he just concentrated on one of those things? Like, if he just concentrated on hitting, he'd be a 60 homer guy. If he just concentrated on pitching, the thing is, like, he gets to do both. Well, and he's going to
honestly, he doesn't field. So, I mean, I don't really think it's an issue. Like, he's got nothing else to work on. It's not like he plays the outfield that much. No. He's a hitter and he's a pitcher. So, I mean, I think he gets to spend as much time as he needs on all of it. I don't think it's a problem at all, to be honest with you.
Oh, I think it's awesome. But the fact is, he hit 47 last year as a pitcher.
46.
46? 46.
46 and 100. But his batting average is only 257. This year, his batting average is up to 270. But here's the thing, like, his on-base and his slugging are both down from last year. He was a 965 OPS. He's 888 right now.
The Angels are also exceptionally worse than they were last year as well. So I think that's a whole team kind of failure on that one. So that might. Yeah,
he'll probably beat his RBI total. Like, he had 100 last year. He's got 92 now, so he probably will beat that. But look at stolen bases. He had 26 last year. He has 11 this year. Walks, he had 96 last year. He's only got 71. He does have 40 less strikeouts. Like, I mean, there's up and downs from what he's doing, but this just goes back to the thing where what we've talked about before is I think there should be Cy Young, an MVP, and an MOP, most outstanding player, because that way Judge will get his MVP, whoever will get their Cy Young award, and then you can give Ohtani the most outstanding player every bloody year you want to, because it honestly, like the way it is now, you have to do something extraordinary to beat Ohtani for Player of the Year.
Yeah.
But he's not an MVP. And that's going now. And like I said, it'll get rid of that whole debate of whether MVP is for the best player or the most valuable player.
Yeah,
because that's always the debate.
And they always had this thing that the team has to make the postseason because then it's a legitimate, like, screw it. Like, if you're doing what Ohtani's doing, like, no.
That's why there should be an MOP and an MVP. So you want an MOP, make it the Hank Aaron Award. Or the Hank Aaron Awards are the best. No, they've already got one. Most outstanding player, make it something like Willie Mays Award.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, or something like that. And for the most valuable player, make it the Babe Ruth or something. Like just whatever. Just make it that difference because then you get. I don't know whether they like it because they like the debate and people love that debate, and that's why baseball doesn't change it. But I think this changes everything because there's never been an Ohtani ever. So. Now that you've got that, what it's going to do, hopefully, is spurn maybe more Ohtani types. Maybe players will make, because look at Dave Stieb could have done both. He was a decent hitter when he got drafted, but he turned him into a pitcher. Or these guys who are great hitters and great pitchers, why not let them, like Madison Bumgarner, for example, or what? There's people like that who could do both. Like Ohtani's just.
I was going to say you should something was just running through my head when you're saying name it the Babe Ruth Award. You can call it the No Nanette Award, which was, I don't know if you know the story behind that. The reason why No Nanette. Yeah, the reason why the Red Sox sold the Yankees was because the owner wanted to finance a Broadway play so that his wife could go into, and it was for No Nanette. So No Nanette Award.
The dumbest reason to do anything. It really is. Like, that's just made no sense whatsoever. I didn't quite understand that whole fiasco, but so I don't know. Like overall, I think Judge will end up with about 63, which is cool.
I give him 60. I give him 65. I give him 65 because he's at 60 right now, and I've actually been at a game where he's cracked 2 and gone really far. Like the season opener a couple years ago.
He's tied the record for the most multi-home run games in a season, which is 11. Yeah. So he could. I bet it is a possibility.
But he hits very well in the dome. Yeah, he hits very well in the dome.
I think they're going to rest him a bit. Once the division is clinched, they clinch the division, you'll see him benched for a little bit.
The weather's going to be pretty crappy, so that means the dome's going to be closed, so that means the ball will fly out. Like, so it's going to be perfect for him.
But I mean, if you're thinking about the other place, playing in New York, if it starts getting cold,
they're going to rest him.
You know what I mean? Like, I just think they'll rest him just because they want to save him for the playoffs, unless he's still going for the record. Now, if he's still going for the record, they will keep him in there until he sets the record.
Yeah,
that's what they'll do. But as soon as he sets it, I think they will seriously consider benching him quite a bit, or using him as a pinch hitter, or maybe playing half a game or whatever, which they have to do with all of their players because they're all old and falling apart.
Yeah.
That's what the Yankees are. That's why I think the Yankees are really, really, really going to have a tough time in the playoffs. I think they're all just too old. Too many old dudes.
That's why
pitching's falling apart.
We have to win. We have to win the essentially the top seed for the wild card. And that'll give us home field, and then it'll be Cleveland or Chicago, whoever takes the Central, playing against.
Pretty sure that's going to be Cleveland. I don't think it's going to be Chicago. I can't. I mean, not saying for sure, but
they've still got an outside shot, but they're still not eliminated. But then it'll be like that's the bonus about Tampa going into Tampa playing Cleveland right now, because Cleveland's still playing for the division, whereas Tampa's playing for a wild card spot. So there's a little more on the line.
Tampa's playing for the same thing we are. They're playing for the first spot, right?
Yeah, and there's a little more on the line for Cleveland.
I'll tell you this right now. There is no way okay, looking at the standings, Cleveland has it. Chicago is 9 games back from Cleveland right now.
Yeah, it's still mathematically
Cleveland's
possible.
85 and 67. Chicago's 76 and 76. There's no way. Unless Cleveland loses every game, because what happened was Cleveland just won 6 in a row, and Chicago just lost 5 in a row. They buried themselves. And Minnesota is 74 and 78. Like, Cleveland's pretty much got it. So Cleveland's got that. So what that means is that they're going to get the 3rd seed, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to play. So you're going to see
champion. Yeah.
So technically, as it stands now, you'd see. So you'll have Houston against Seattle. You'll have New York against
versus
Tampa.
Well, no, Houston,
and then it's Cleveland against us.
No. Houston, and New York get byes in the first round. Then it's Cleveland.
Oh, right.
Cleveland, us, Seattle, Tampa. So we would be playing Tampa as it stands.
No, wait. Would it be Cleveland, us? Because if we're the top wild card seed,
it'd be
Cleveland.
That's what I'm saying. Who's at home?
Seattle.
That's what I'm saying. Who's at home? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's who the home teams are, right? Because you've got New York and Houston, and then you've got Cleveland and us, which are essentially the home teams, right. And then Cleveland against Seattle, and we get Tampa. The Tampa would be playing up here.
Yeah, and that's not. Honestly, I don't know who I'd want between those two teams. I mean, Seattle just lost Julio Rodriguez again. He went on the DL again. The superstar kid they've got, so that's been tough for them. So, but their pitching's been pretty good. Like, I mean, they've got one of the best pitching staffs going into the playoffs. Like, Seattle as a team is going to be a dangerous team.
Actually, they've got a pretty good Canadian too, Matt Brash, as well.
Oh, Brash has been great.
He's in his first year. Yeah. He's a Kingston boy as well. But he was Padres. He was the Padres draft pick, but he debuted this year. But he's slotted in sort of a little bit long relief, and he's got 5 saves. Four
he's
ERA,
one of those guys. It's like he's a guy like we need. We need those young, high leverage arms. Like, I'll tell you one thing. What I've noticed, Merriweather has played himself off this team. Merriweather, he has the $1 million arm. He has no control over it. And he's now 31 years old. I mean, it'd be great if he could have done something, because that's what we traded Josh Donaldson for. Yeah. I would have loved to have seen him turn out, but he's a bust. He just can't control it. So you got to drop him from the roster. So I'm curious, if Nate Pearson's still pitching decently, wouldn't it be funny if he gets picked up just for the playoffs?
Yeah.
It's possible. I mean, he's done it before. So I don't know. Like, Simber's been used too much because he's leading the majors in appearances. Garcia's been, like, all of our guys, these bullpen games have killed the bullpen.
Yeah.
That's what it's done.
Like, it saved the starters. It saved the starters, but the crap part is the guys that we're sort of leaning on to be like that long relief haven't really panned out, because Mitchell White, who is the spot starter / long relief kind of thing, I was excited for us picking him up, and he actually didn't have a bad game this week, but he's not been. Well,
his game wasn't. He didn't have a great game. I'll tell you that. It wasn't the best. He was all right.
It sounds terrible saying, but for him, it was all right.
Yeah. I mean, our long man's cuckoo. Like, I mean, Stripling. It's because we had to put Stripling in the rotation. Thank God. Here's the other thing now. Has Stripling, like, if Stripling pitches a decent game today, which he is so far, Barrios was terrible the other day.
I think Barrios.
If you have to go to a 3-game, if you're doing a 3-game set, right, and you pull all 3 games,
you go Manoah,
Barrios, you put Stripling.
You have to go Stripling. You have to go with the guy that gives you the best chance. I don't care what the contract says. I've said this before. We had one of the best pitchers of all time sitting on the bench when we made the playoffs, Mark Burley. Yep. So whatever the record is at the end, like whatever their record is at the end, however well they're pitching, I don't care what your contract says. What you're making. Like, Stripling should be the 3rd pitcher, possibly even the 2nd pitcher, because he's been better than Gausman over the last. But it's going to be Manoah. It's going to and probably Gausman in the 3rd spot, and Stripling should be in the 2nd spot.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll still keep a Gausman, Manoah, Stripling. I think they're going to keep that. I just I just do. It's no rhyme or reason for it. I just have a gut feeling they don't want to switch it around. Part of it is they want to give Manoah they want to give him like the good games or whatever, but they also last couple starts they've given him an extra day's rest because he's now actually I meant to look this up in the stats, and I think if I'm right, if you're talking pitching. I believe going into today's game that Manoah may be leading the league in innings pitched by just a little bit.
Year to date.
Nope, sorry, I was wrong. He's second.
190.
He is 1/3 of an inning behind Framber Valdez for the most innings pitched in the American League.
That's crazy.
Framber has 191. Alec has 190 and 2/3.
0.2, yeah.
So he is just behind. His whip is 1. I mean, he's again not the biggest strikeout guy, but
it's enough. 176, like nothing to sneeze at.
He doesn't walk anybody either. He's only got 49 walks, which is pretty low.
He actually got his last night as well. He got his 300th strikeout in his career as well. So that's kind of cool. He started 30. He's never pitched this much before, so there's people that are a little worried about it. But I mean, he's built to be a pitcher. So what else are you gonna do? I mean, I think he'll be fine. He's massive.
I mean, talking about ERA, he's third in ERA behind Verlander and Dylan Cease. I mean, as it stands now, Verlander's Cy Young to lose.
Yeah.
But Manoah's pitched 30 more innings than him, though, which is interesting. You know, like he started 4 more games than Verlander. Cease and Manoah both pitched 30. Verlander and Shohei, who's 4th in ERA, are both pitched 26. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Verlander will win it, obviously, but I think Manoah and Cease are going to be killing it for the 2nd or 3rd spot in the Cy Young voting for sure.
Yeah.
Gausman had a chance, but he's blown it now.
Yeah.
His ERA is just too big.
I do like,
and he's pitched one less game than Manoah, and Manoah's outpitched him by 25 innings. Like Manoah's the going deep guy. Gausman and Barrios are only doing 5 or 6, and Stripling they're keeping him tethered because he's never pitched this much either. That's the other thing. Is Stripling's never thrown this many innings in a season before. Yeah. So you're getting uncharted territory there.
Well, you realize just on that little stat when you're clicking the the ERA tab and you're flicking it on, what name pops up as soon as it's the last one? Jose Barrios.
Yeah,
he's in last. He's in dead last. It's just kind of
5.27,
interesting,
like 0.75 worse than the next guy. Like that's really bad. Although it's funny because his stats aren't. It's weird. Like he hasn't walked a lot of guys.
No.
40 walks. He's hit 11 guys. He's given a lot of home runs. That's the biggest thing with Barrios is he's given up 29 home runs. That's been his Achilles heel. And his batting average against is 289. Like, I think that might be leading the league for cripe's sake. Let's see.
I can't see that.
Worst. He is. Jose Barrios has the worst batting average against of any qualified starter. Kevin Gausman is 3rd worst.
Yeah.
Well, so that tells you something right there. Like, they're hitting 289 against Barrios and Gausman. They're hitting 272.
We got to kind of reel it in because we got ourselves a minute left.
Oh, yeah. So, so much for the extra commercial. Sorry, 365sportscast.com, where you can watch us or listen to us at 5 p.m. every Sunday and then on everybody else's stuff. We meant to do 365sportscast.com. We just ran out of time.
All right, we got 10 games left this week. We've got another one against Tampa right now. We've got the Yanks in Toronto for 3, and we got the Sox in Toronto for 3. We finished the season off with the Orioles. So it's coming down to the nitty gritty here. So
it is.
I call us in a sweep on the Yanks because the Yanks really don't have anything to play for at this point in time. So
they have a division to play for.
It's 8.5. 8.5.
Yeah,
like we're gonna sweep them. We're gonna sweep them. Like unless they really, really, really sink it and lose every single game, then yes. But we're gonna sweep them, and we're gonna sweep the Sox.
They're going for I don't know. I think they're gonna go for 100 wins. I think that's gonna be their benchmark. I think that's what they
need
want.
5. Yeah, they're at 90. They're at 95. 95 wins.
No, 93. They need 7.
93? They need 7. Okay, 7 and 10. Yeah, it's doable.
So 7. Right. They've got 11 games left to play because they're 93 and 58. They got 11 games left. They got 1 game in hand on us.
That's the hour mark. Alrighty, kids, we're gonna have to cut it now. So make sure you watch baseball. Listen to us on
Watch baseball.
Sportscast.com. And
like and subscribe anywhere you can lay down comments. Lay down comments for us on Twitter at the 4040 Men. Just start leaving us some stuff. Interact with us. We like to play with people. Bye. Oh, cool. 3-1.